Dharamjot, who's here with me in the newsroom. Dharamjot, it's about 4:20 a.m. We've been tracking all these developments in the wee hours of the night as the world is still waking up to what has happened in the Indian subcontinent. Nothing that India had hidden. India had made it clear we are going to give a befitting reply. When it's going to come, Pakistan had been guessing all throughout. They said next 3-4 days, next 24 to 36 hours, from their defense minister, from their information minister. They were all guessing. Of course, all their guesses had to be wrong because the Indian armed forces were sure of what they're going to be doing, and they were given operational freedom by the Indian Prime Minister to decide where they want to strike and when they want to strike. And again, these strikes have been non-escalatory. They do not reckon a response from Pakistan because no military infrastructure in Pakistan has been struck.
Well, you're absolutely right, Shivan. As we've been talking about this, it remains to be seen in terms of what other reactions will come out throughout the course of the day. As I've been mentioning again and again, more details by the Indian Armed Forces will be shared later in the day. They will share more information with respect to what happened in the entire operation, how is it that they carried out, the exact timing, the locations. All of that we're waiting for to hear from the Indian Armed Forces, and that will be in addition to the statement that they've already put out when they put out the tweet. And when they said justice has been served. 9 terror locations in Pakistan's Punjab and POK have been struck in response to the April 22nd Pahalgam attack. And we've been talking about this a lot, Shivan. The Indian Armed Forces, I mean, they've been dealing with, and India has been dealing with, the neighbor for a very, very long time. We have over 3,000 kilometers of a border that we share with Pakistan. Over 740 kilometers of that is, the LOC. So a very, very porous border that we've seen the neighbor take undue advantage of time and again when it comes to cross-border terrorism. It's something that India and Indian authorities have been dealing with for such a long time. And we have seen attacks like this before. We saw the ghastly Pulwama attack. We saw the Uri attack. But none of them have ever gone unavenged by the Indian Armed Forces, and a similar reaction is also being seen when about 2 hours ago we saw the statement put out by the Indian Army and then again by the Ministry of Defence, and after that the Government of India also put out an official press notification talking about Operation Sindoor that was carried out as a response to the Pahalgam terror attack on April 22nd, Shivan. So clearly a lot of emotions, a lot of reactions that are pouring in. A lot of people will now be waking up, since it's still wee hours of the morning. A lot of people will now be waking up to the news of what has happened. There clearly is going to be, a lot of outpouring of emotion, a lot of reactions that are going to come in. But what we can say about the situation politically, at least right now, Shivan, is the fact that all the reactions that have come in from political parties and their top leadership has been that of unison. We've heard everybody making statements in the same voice. They're all appreciating it. They're all acknowledging that justice has been served by the Indian Armed Forces. It's a stance that the political parties took shortly after the April 22nd Pahalgam attack, when they said that they'll back the Indian government with they stand in complete unison with the Indian government with respect to whatever the leadership thinks is the correct course of action to react to that dastardly attack. And even today, 15 days after we lost 26 innocent civilians, the political parties are still standing united in India when they're talking about how justice has finally been served. Whether or not there's a blowback from this, whether or not there's going to be a different sort of reaction from Pakistan, that is something we will find out through the course of the day. But when it comes to the action of the Indian military, of the Indian Armed Forces, they have made it categorically clear, saying that this is a targeted strike on terror infrastructure. Does that really warrant an escalatory reaction from Pakistan? Logically, it doesn't. Is that going to happen? That remains to be seen. Because the porous border, Shivan, is already tense. We've been seeing it from the past few days. We've been talking to our correspondent as well, who's been telling us how there have been so many violations day in and day out ever since the Pahalgam terror attack. And those violations have only escalated and intensified. So where the situation goes from here, I think the ball is now in Pakistan's court to determine, because India has taken a restrained, a targeted, a precise action to avenge what happened in Pahalgam back on April 22nd. Shivan.